You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
Episode of the Show Before the Show podcast, the official podcast of minor league baseball. I have an extra jolt of excitement in my intro this week because not only is it the usual Tyler Mon, Benjamin Hill, Sam Dykstra triumvirate reunited, but we have a fourth. The last few weeks I've been saying that we are one leg short of a tripod because Sam was gone. This week we're a table because we have a fourth leg. Or a chair, or
we have a tripod with too many legs is what we have.
That is true. We have too many legs in the kitchen. Josh Jackson joins us. Joshua W. Jackson is not only on the podcast, he is in the office this week. He walked into the room. Just a little bit of backstory. Josh and I all day, every day, send each other voice notes on our phones. And that sounds like an exaggeration. It's truly not. All day, Josh and I carry on conversations. And then seeing Josh on the screen today, I was like, oh, right, he's a person also.
I am, and I've got to break some news to you. I have two legs, and you all also each have two legs.
Oh, wait a minute.
Your tripod
how does this math
analogy here is faulty.
When I said the tripod thing, Josh put an eyebrow up like, wait, what? Huh? How does this?
Each of our bodies is a leg in the tripod.
Yeah, Josh. How about that? Josh is not an
Each leg of the tripod also has two legs and two arms.
We're unique in that way.
This is a weird tripod.
Well, we welcome you into this overloaded personality edition of the Show Before the Show podcast. The only guy who has not yet said anything on the podcast is the guy who has returned from the wilds of the Grapefruit League in Sam Dykstra, looking resplendent and tanned and, freshly famous off of all of his stints on the network telling you about all the prospects that you will soon know and love. Hello, Sam.
Hello, Tyler, Ben, Josh, everybody. It's not me talking into my phone at ungodly hours of the morning.
Ungodly hours, by the way. Sam sent his segment last week for last week's episode of the show at 3:46 a.m. Eastern time. And I was like, are you awake now? Have you not gone to sleep? Like, what is happening? And I responded and said, good God, this was nearly 4 a.m. Eastern. And he said, the rantings of a madman hopped up on Slim Jims and Little Debbie's. So I'm glad to know that your road diet is good. Were you awake late or were you up early? Because in the Grapefruit League, like, you got to wake up super early to drive from one place to another. It's not like the Phoenix area where it's all within, 40 minutes as Josh and I used to do. What was the day like that day?
That was in between the first and second day of spring breakout. So the night, or I guess a couple of hours before, was the Rays Red Sox game in Port Charlotte on the Gulf Coast. I had to call a game between the Astros and Nationals for MLB.TV and MLB Network on the East Coast in West Palm Beach the next day at 2 p.m. And I am not a morning person. So the idea of like falling asleep in Northport or Port Charlotte, that area, and then driving very early in the morning along Alligator Alley just was not going to work for me. So I decided to drive through the night. And let me tell you, that is a very straight drive through there. If anybody's driven right through South Central Florida, you just point the car straight and keep going until you
there's not a lot of landmarks that are going to obstruct you there.
No, or you just you do what I did and just find a big truck that acts like your lead blocker and just follow their lights the entire way.
You can draft behind it. Yeah,
exactly.
That is true. Alligator Alley does not sound like a place where you want to get lost in the middle of the night anyway. It sounds like a Red Dead Redemption 2 place where you're going to get snatched off the road and gobbled up.
I think that's why I was very grateful. It was a very straight road. I did not want to end my rental of a Chevy Malibu in the swamp, quite
Sam
literally.
Dykstra lost in Alligator Alley.
Yeah.
Well, we are thrilled to get after it on this week's episode of the show before the show. Although I don't know whose idea it was to schedule this right at the start of every single morning tip off on the first full day of March Madness today. But I got High Point and Purdue on my iPad off to my left. And, I'm just going to drift in and out of paying attention, which is what I normally do on the show anyway. So
This
is
is a
everyone
baseball
excited?
podcast, Tyler. We do not care about other sports here. We do not acknowledge the existence of other sports.
You're darn
And-
tootin'.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter what's happening in other sports. All that matters is the world of minor league baseball.
You're darn tootin'.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
And
Let's-
speaking of that world of minor league baseball, you can get in touch with us about your very thoughts and questions about the world of minor league baseball. Podcast at MILB.com. And let's get to it. Let's get started. We're going to kick things off with 8 new identities for Copa de la Diversión in 2025. Benjamin Hill, give us the rundown of the Copa landscape this year as one of the signature initiatives of minor league baseball continues to evolve.
Yeah, Copa de la Diversión. Copa de la Diversión. Diversión. It started in 2017 with just 4 teams as a pilot program, grew a lot in 2018, and has either grown or held steady from there. Now 92 teams are participating, about where it was last year. This is a program designed to celebrate and engage with the Hispanic community of minor league teams across the country. I know a lot of people know how it looks or works, but if you don't, that's what it is. And teams anywhere from one time to almost weekly throughout the season have Copa nights at the ballpark where they adopt this identity and celebrate the Hispanic community in various ways. I've been at ballparks on various Copa nights. Some are more elaborately executed than others, but you definitely see a kind of spirit at the ballpark that maybe isn't always there in terms of the music, the dances, the between inning contests, and so on and so forth. So it's a good way for teams to adjust their game day programming and their on-field look to represent what is very likely a strong demographic in their community. And obviously, and we've talked about this before, it seems like there's the chance to expand this beyond just Copa and the Hispanic fan base. We just think about America as a country and how many diverse groups of people there are in minor league markets all over the country. So I think it'd be cool to see more of this concept as the years go by. I think an example is the Filipino community in Norfolk being celebrated by the lumpia, the snack there. But I digress. We've got 8 new Copa identities for 2025. And let's just run through them real quick. I believe this team is participating for the very first time, the Aberdeen Ironbirds being the Sinceros Increíbles de Aberdeen. And I apologize now and forever for my Spanish, but that translates to the incredible cowbells of Aberdeen. And Aberdeen has a cowbell history through what they refer to as cowbells at the ballpark. The Ironbirds are named after the Iron Man Cal Ripken. He was an Aberdeen native, and he played a huge role. He was the original team owner, along with his family. So the cowbells have been a thing. So now the Copa identity is the incredible cowbells of Aberdeen, and it pays homage to genres such as salsa, merengue, bachata, cumbia, and reggaeton. And the logo, blue and orange, featuring a baseball bat hitting a cowbell. And they're just going to play just one game with that identity in 2025, but it's good to see the Ironbirds doing Copa. We've talked about doing a salamander identity on this show. We brought the Hellbenders to fruition a year ago or so. Still have not gotten that logo taken care of when we dreamed up our own team identity. But speaking of salamanders, Kannapolis, who had previously been they haven't done it since 2019. I can't remember what their name was back in 2019. But the Cannonballers are back in the mix with the Ejolotes, which is a type of salamander. And I do not know how to say in English or whatever the name of the salamander. It's like axolotl,
Oh yeah.
AXOLOTL.
Yeah. Those are that's like a trendy pet for people. A lot of people have axolotls. And by a lot, I mean like not that many. But people actually own those things. They're very weird looking.
Yeah, well, these type of salamanders are unique. They can thrive on both land and water. And to Kannapolis cannonballers, that's a metaphor. Um, their ability to thrive in different places embodies the inclusive Kannapolis culture, which allows our Hispanic community to embrace American traditions while preserving their rich Hispanic heritage. We've got the Norfolk Tides, the Caballitos del Mar de Norfolk, the seahorses. The Norfolk Tides have a seahorse as their primary logo, so now they have a sugar skull style seahorse logo, suiting up as the Caballitos del Mar. And that was a partnership with the local chamber for Hispanic progress in the Norfolk area. Last season, as you guys all well know, and I think a lot of listeners know, the Rome Braves changed their name to the Rome Emperors, and their logo is a emperor penguin. That has inspired the Rome Emperors' new Copa identity, Los Penguinos. And the logo was inspired by Mexican folk art and Dia de los Muertos symbolism. That's the Day of the Dead. Stockton, that used to be the horses, the Caballos, now have a new Copa identity, the Cheladas. They joined the El Paso Margaritas, Lehigh Valley Mamajuana, Limonadas de Hill City, and others on the Copa landscape, in which they have a beverage identity and a chelada, also known as a michelada. Michelada, yeah.
Micheladas.
And yeah, so you have a logo where it's like an anthropomorphic glass with arms, and one arm is squeezing a lime into himself, and the other is pouring alcohol into himself. So this logo really does it all. He holds the drink and prepares the drink. He's like a bartender within his own head.
It's like if the Kool-Aid Man
Yeah.
was filling himself at the same time.
Yeah.
If you've ever wondered how the Kool-Aid Man gets his liquid, the Stockton Cheladas are here to provide answers.
That's actually word for word what it says in the press release.
That was the release.
Yeah. The Payosos del Rodeo of Sugarland, the Sugarland Space Cowboys, have a rodeo clowns Copa identity. And I like this one a lot because the clown, you think of a clown, you think of joking around, smiling, goofy. But this clown is very serious because that is an important job at rodeos. Yes, the clowns clown and entertain people between races and events at a rodeo, but they also help corral the angry toros after they bucked their riders, as the team puts it in their press release. And so it's a celebration of Houston's rodeo culture and the Hispanic people within that who have been part of that culture. And you've got a serious clown in that logo who has a serious job to do. And finally, the Winston-Salem Dash El Humo, the smoke. They had previously been the Rayados, which means striped ones. They'd been the Salsa for, I think, a year. This is at least their third Copa identity. We've talked a lot about Winston-Salem Dash alternate identities in general, but now they are the smoke, and the logo is a smokestack with a plume of smoke coming out of the smokestack and wrapping around the smokestacks to create an H. And that is a reference to the smokestacks of Winston-Salem. They used to be tobacco country. The Winston and Winston-Salem is the same Winston of Winston cigarettes and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of that history here. But
that is interesting. I feel like that is the first smoking related identity that we've had in minor league baseball in quite some time. There used to be obviously a lot of the Tobbs. That was the tobacconists, the Wilson Tobbs, if you're familiar with that team name. And obviously that's been a collegiate summer league team. But yeah, there hasn't been a lot of tobacco themed connections in recent years and decades.
Yeah, it used to be that pretty much every baseball logo just had a cigarette hanging out of its mouth.
Pretty much, just like
no
every person.
No matter what it was. Baltimore Orioles, that bird had a cigarette. It was a different time.
Who could forget the Philly Fanatics' long battle to quit when the Fanatic would come out with the nicotine patches on and everything,
Yeah, he picked up smoking in the Galapagos Islands, which is where he was born. It's true. You can look it up.
That's why he became the Phillies, because he got really into smoking the Philly.
Yeah, the old
cigars. Yeah. You learn so much on this podcast.
We sound like a Chat GPT explanation of baseball mascots.
Yeah. But Humo de Winston-Salem, and yes, it does not celebrate smoking or the tobacco industry, but it celebrates that landmark of the city and, quote, highlights the thriving Hispanic and Latin-owned businesses that fuel the community's entrepreneurial spirit. And so it also ties into the evolution of Winston-Salem since its tobacco-centric days. And I said finally when I got to Winston-Salem, but I meant penultimately. Finally, Granjeros de Wisconsin. That means farmers, a tribute to the dairy farmers of the Appleton, Wisconsin region. And this logo, if you're familiar with the Udder Tuggers, the Timber Rattlers' alternate identity, this is a sugar skull udder tugger. And I've been waiting to say sugar skull udder tugger in a professional context for a long time. And it is quite the logo. I mean, the Udder Tuggers logo, it's a cow upright on 2 feet. With protruding teats, yeah. And now it's rendered in sugar skull form. So it's kind of day glow, multicolored, I don't call it a milk sack. What do you udder. I guess that's the udder.
Yes,
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
The udder's waiting to be tugged.
Yeah. Yeah. So that one, and there is a really spectacular looking bobblehead they're giving away on May 4th of that sugar skull cow bobblehead or logo. And they're going to play as the Granjeros 3 times in 2025. So there you have it. The Timber Rattlers, the Dash, the Space Cowboys, the Ports, the Rome Emperors, the Norfolk Tides, Kannapolis Cannonballers, and the Aberdeen Ironbirds, all with new looks for Copa in 2025.
I remember during the dark days of the pandemic, and you were just sitting there saying, "I just want to say Udder Tuggers or
Sugar Skull Udder Tugger. Sugar Skull.
Yeah. Like you have to wait. You have to wait.
Yeah. He was saying it a lot in an amateur capacity.
Yeah, I would say right. I would pull up that video of peanut butter jelly time on YouTube. Like peanut butter jelly time, and I'd change the lyrics to Udder Tugger, Sugar Skull, Udder Tugger, Sugar. Where are you at? Never mind. But I would do that quite a lot.
Ben,
yeah.
Did Akron give away a smokestack bobblehead last year?
They did.
Ah,
You're correct, Josh. And I forget the specifics of that, although it was highlighting one of their own smokestacks. We have to look in. They gave away some interesting stuff. They gave away a Sojourner Truth statue bobblehead as well because she gave a famous speech in Akron. They gave away the smokestacks. I know this year they're celebrating the anniversary of the invention of PVC piping in Akron. You can learn a lot about Akron through their bobblehead or through their promotional schedule. Not to mention they're playing as the cheese salads this year, and they announced a partnership with Luigi's, a famous cheese salad purveyor in Akron. So, and they're going to be giving away a cheese salad at every inning when they play as the cheese salads. But you asked about smokestacks. I don't know. I know they did it.
Yeah.
We'll have to look it up. I'll look it up.
I have one question for the 3 of you. I don't know if I feel like Ben will probably know this without really thinking, but do any of you know the original 4 Copa teams? I could only remember 2 of them off the top of my head, but in 2017, Copa was started as a pilot program. We're coming up on a decade of Copa identities, by the way. Next season will be 10 seasons. Does anybody know the first 4 Copa trial balloon teams from 2017? Without looking it up.
I think I only have 2 in my mind. So you guys go first.
I have 2 guesses.
Yeah.
I don't know either one, but I feel it might have just been that Albuquerque has been such a big winner of La Copa that I'm thinking Albuquerque, but I think no, not one of the 4. Was
Incorrect.
Las Vegas one of the 4?
Las Vegas was one of the 4.
Okay, yeah. So, and they were something with silver?
They were.
So.
They were the Reyes de Plata.
Right.
The Silver Kings.
Charlotte was definitely one of them.
Charlotte was one.
I want to say Visalia.
Visalia was one. Charlotte was the Caballeros. Visalia was the Toros, the Bulls. And I'll give you a hint. One of these teams shared a name with one of the others.
Durham
was the Toros of Durham, which is interesting because, like it seemed Visalia, the Rawhide, they went with the Toros of Visalia. Durham was also the Toros, but that's their actual name, the Durham Bulls. But interestingly, Durham has gone through multiple Copa identities. Durham was the Cervezas at one time. So they did not stick with their original one. Vegas, the Reyes de Plata is like, when that logo came out, that identity came out, I was like, oh, this whole initiative is going to be amazing. Although, to be fair, back in 2017, we didn't know that this was like going to be a minor league baseball wide thing, which is obviously has turned into and has been on a massive, incredible scale. But yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting that we are in this new age of Copa, coming up on almost 10 seasons. And yeah, I could not remember all 4 of them.
It is a really cool, it's like it's a whole nother way that you learn a lot about various parts of the country and its
Yes.
history and different
Yes.
cultures within each part of the country, which minor league baseball is always great at, but it's like a way that, it's a whole other way that it's happening every season. And then
Right.
it's also a really fun something, for example, that I learned in the Baseball Traveler newsletter this week from Ben is, that the Norfolk's ID, new Copa identity.
The Seahorses.
Yes. Um, it's the Caballitos del Mar, I
Yeah.
believe. And, I didn't look it up or anything, but I believe that literally translates to the little horses of the sea,
Yes.
which means that Spanish for seahorses, little horse of the sea, which
Little
is pretty
horse of
cool.
the sea.
That's
That
pretty
is-
cool.
and it's
I
adorable.
wouldn't
And it's
know
accurate.
it without Copa.
They're so little. That's accurate. Yeah, we wouldn't know that without Copa.
Yeah, and seahorses, the men get pregnant, right? And they carry it. So it should be like the pregnant men of the sea.
They do.
Learning more by the second.
I get worried about what is the Caballos del Mar, because if there's like the small horses of the sea, what are the regularly sized horses? of
Those are the
sea?
gigantic, those are, the actual, in the
I've seen-
depths of the ocean.
I've seen
They're
some
like,
great movies about those.
I was gonna say, in the depths, gigantism has it made the creation of like they're like draft horses of the sea that just wander around. Clydesdales underwater. That's how it goes. Those are the realities that we live with. It is very cool though. You can of course check out all of the Copa identities at milb.com for 2025. And we are not done talking about alternate identities. And we have a new one that we have multiple people on this call who are perhaps better equipped to discuss than any people on earth, because we have 2 New Englanders, including 1 Mainer, and we have a new identity that is rolled out from the lone minor league baseball outpost in the state of Maine, and that is the Maine Candlepins, which is something that we discussed at the beginning of the show, oddly enough, ties into this. This is a nod to a different sport, but it is a baseball team's identity, and it refers to candlepin bowling, a thing that I still basically have zero knowledge about, although Sam has explained this to me before. Gents, Sam Dykstra, Joshua Jackson, Josh being our mainer, Sam being our foremost authority on candlepin bowling. Will you explain what's going on with the Maine Candlepins of the Portland?
I'm going to let Josh start because we have to let the Portland man talk about Portland.
Well, I'm glad to do that because I'll say right at the top, of the 3 of us, I think I have the least knowledge and probably least experience in candlepin bowling.
In actual candlepin bowling.
Right. You didn't mention that Ben has also married into a Massachusetts family.
Right.
One of the great old Massachusetts families of candle and has
all good people should.
I know for a fact that he's been candlepin bowling more recently than I have, possibly multiple times. But I will say, yes, candlepin bowling is big in New England. It's the kind of thing for me that you feel like, oh yeah, candlepin bowling, that used to be huge. And then like you drive by a place that's a candlepin bowling lane and you're like, oh, it still is huge. I just haven't gone in a long time. But like everybody, it's still a huge thing. And I just, haven't gone since I was a kid. These other two fellows, though, I think have gone possibly this morning. They might have done a little candlepin bowling.
They did it on the way into the office just to refresh their memories.
Yeah, well, Sam has done it the most, but before I pass it over to him, yesterday I was slacking with Josh and I said, "Have you ever been to Saco? Saco, SACO. Have you ever been to Saco, Maine?" Because I was reading the Maine Candlepins press release that the Portland Sea Dogs put out, and it mentioned that candle pins, which are taller and thinner than regular bowling pins, are manufactured in Saco, Maine, and I believe that's the only place like in the country where they are currently manufactured. So I thought I liked that particular Maine tie into it. And Josh told me he used to go to a Funtown.
That's right. And what I didn't tell
Fun
you,
Town?
Funtown. What I didn't didn't tell Ben.
They didn't spare any expense with branding that place, did they?
Well, hold on to your seat there, because that's not its whole name anymore. It's got additional branding, which many listeners to this very podcast may be familiar with, because Funtown Splashtown USA still advertises on Portland Sea Dogs games on the broadcast. So
Funtown Splashtown USA.
If you're watching on MILB.TV, or if you're listening to our friends in the Sea Dogs radio booth during the commercial breaks, you may well hear the Great American. I'm blanking on the words, but the Great American family comes to play at Funtown Splashtown USA. And I think that song is pretty much the same since like 1989, at least. Whenever it was that they took on Splashtown, which used to be a separate entity.
The great merger.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We need to get.
That's when the branding really got expensive.
We need to get Emma Tiedemann, our friend and return guest of the Show Before the Show podcast. We need to get Emma to give us like a breakdown of, is this like a Minneapolis St. Paul situation? Have they incorporated as a single community, but they're sharing the name?
Well, they're both in Saco.
Oh,
okay.
Point, okay.
Which is where the candle. It's one of Maine's most financially stable communities because of the Candlepin Bowling Factory and Funtown Splashtown USA. I don't know if there's Candlepin bowling at Funtown Splashtown, but there should be.
There should be if there isn't. So Candlepin bowling, its own specific type of bowling. It obviously a tie-in, Saco, Maine, as Ben has pointed out. But isn't there something, as we turn it over to our resident Candlepin bowling expert, Samuel C. Dykstra, isn't there something like you set up your own pins, right? Like you knock down the pin. It's not like, isn't there? No, you're giving me a look like I'm insane. You don't?
It's not a game from 1945, Tyler.
Well, like, a lot of things.
It is in some ways. Yes.
Locked in. Yeah. What are you talking about? Of course it is. What are you talking about?
I think what you're referring to is that let's start with the basics. You started with the pins, right? The pins, as Ben mentioned, are like tubes. They're taller. They don't have that classic big, what I call big ball bowling shape.
Oh, you use a smaller bowl. That's right.
And you use a smaller ball.
I saw this guy on the street.
A smaller ball.
Big ball bowling. Yeah, the big ball bowling shape.
That's LeVar Ball's brand.
There's no holes in the ball. It basically just rests in your hand. It's a little bit bigger than a softball, I would say.
Okay.
But it's made of the same material, that kind of marble. And depending on which bowling alley you go to, sometimes there will be little grooves where clearly people have clutched it for so long because that ball has not been taken out of rotation for decades and decades. But anyway, so you get to roll the ball 3 times per frame.
Okay.
Not twice.
Okay.
So it's possible
not once, not twice, but thrice.
But thrice.
As Mr. Burns
So
would
it's
say.
possible to score a 10 without getting a spare or a strike.
It doesn't count as a spare if you get all 10 down on your third ball.
Yeah,
It doesn't count as a spare if you get all 10 down on your third ball.
Yeah.
Okay.
What I think you're referring to, Tyler, is that you don't clean the lanes after every roll.
Right.
So if I were to roll a 5 and there are still 5 pins up, but like 5 of the pins are in the lane, you leave them. Those are now to your advantage.
Okay.
We call that wood. Pins that are down but still in the lane.
Okay.
So you could conceivably get a 7-10 split with 3 pieces of wood in the middle. You just chuck it down the middle, have it clear out both sides, and get that 7-10 split.
Possibly a spare, possibly not.
Depending
maybe
on
a
which
spare,
ball
maybe
it is.
not.
Yeah. So you're allowed 3 balls per frame because it is a tougher sport. You can whip the ball a lot harder, but it's harder to be more accurate because you're getting more surface area. So
According to Wikipedia, which means you know that it's wrong, they don't oil the lanes either. It just roll. You don't. There's no like sliding of the ball. The ball just rolls. The lanes are not oiled. I used to work at a. It was essentially Fun Town. I used to work at like in college. I worked at like a combination, like go-kart track, bowling alley, arcade. It was a blast. But we used to have to run like the lane oiler, which was a very cool old-timey machine, but they don't oil the lanes in candlepin bowling, evidently.
yeah, yeah. So I grew up going. Every once in a while, people would have their birthday parties. I definitely had a birthday party at a Candlepin Lane in Munson, Massachusetts. Every town in Western Massachusetts, or at least around Palmer, has one, including Palmer down on Main Street, which you did not get to last week.
I was gonna say,
curiously.
what restaurants is it close to? Because Ben and I should have known.
It's if you've reached the Friendlies, you've gone too far.
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
Yeah, which I will have more to say about that in our final segment because I don't want to let that go unresponded to. But no, it's a great game. It's super fun. I actually took. I don't want to say I personally took. I went with my parents, but we took my nephew and two nieces candlepin bowling, and it's fun. It's accessible for kids. They now have like the ramp for kids to use.
Oh, okay.
So
Do they do bumpers? Can you do bumper?
You can set up
bowling?
bumpers.
Okay.
It's fascinating now because like when I used to play, if it was bumpers,
Back
it was
in my
bumpers for
day.
everybody.
Right.
Yeah, you had to like literally hitch the bumpers up, and you just left them.
Oh, okay.
Now you set like Madeline will be bumpers, so it'll go up automatically when it's her turn, and then Liam goes.
Oh,
The 7-year-old going on 8 years old.
Oh, yeah, that
will
makes
come
sense.
down. Yeah, and it's fun to see them like sometimes want to use the ramp, sometimes not want to use the ramp, sometimes want to use bumpers, sometimes not want to use bumpers.
I do feel like it's a
Get lot
little
of
bit.
looks, a lot of people looking at you funny using those bumpers.
I was gonna say it seems like a little bit of a cop out to use the ramp if the ball is so small. Like using the full size ball, I get, but the ball's small.
These are 2-year-old children.
No, you said 7 going on 8, Sam.
Well,
You're not fooling anybody.
Liam didn't use it, but Madeline, who's 5, and Nora, who is 2 going on 3, used it. So
Also, I just want to take issue with something you said a moment ago, which is that all people should marry into a good Massachusetts family. You were at my wedding, in which I married into an East Texas family. The names of the minor league baseball teams in my now wife's hometown are things like Lumbermen and Foresters, and those are pretty cool.
So that's Beth's hometown.
Right.
What about Elizabeth Lee's
I can't
hometown,
divulge. I
which
cannot
I
divulge
think is on the
Elizabeth
south shore of
Lee's.
Massachusetts somewhere.
And I did take Beth to the side and like bless her as a Massachusetts woman. Josh and I both did that at your wedding.
She's a lot more Massachusetts minded than she is East Texas minded.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this question. Since we got into this ostensibly to discuss the identity of the Maine Candlepin squad, which will be taking the field for the Portland Sea Dogs on August 2nd against my former franchise, the Altoona Curve. Does the Candlepins identity, which we should bring it back around and discuss, does it feel like it captures the feeling of a Candlepin bowling night out? Because the thing that I love most about it is the jerseys. Obviously, they look a little bit like bowling shirts, but I love it's a navy blue bodied shirt. They've got the different colored bowling shoes as a sleeve patch on one side. They've got the Portland Sea Dogs logo on the other side. The bowling shoes are on the left. Sea Dogs logo's on the right. But down the front side of the jersey, it's like that 1950s style bowling shirt look where there is just like some random panel of yellow with red stripes down the side and a very like Googie era design with some lining and stars. It's very cool looking. Does this, like, when you guys look at this as people who have actually gone candlepin bowling, does this feel like, walking into like a cool, the holdover style tavern that also has a bowling alley attached to it? Like, this gives me that feeling, even though I've never done it.
Yeah, no, they really knocked it out. I mean, you mentioned that logo that they have, which is the Red Sox logo essentially, but it's like a white pair of tube socks going into bowling shoes, which are those perfect clown looking shoes.
And I'll be honest, And being one of the logo nerds on the show, I didn't even think about that. Makes that logo so much better. And
Yeah.
on the Candlepins page on the Portland website, they have the Red Sox logo in the background of the hat and that logo. And so you can see how closely that logo resembles that makes that logo even more brilliant. That is terrific.
No, it's really, really well done. And I was actually talking to somebody the other day, and I can tell you, I've never bought a hat more quickly than I did the morning that they announced it. So I have a Candlepins hat coming my way at some point. But I was talking to somebody else, and they're like, "Oh, well, you got to buy the jersey." And I'm like, I've already poured my X amount of dollars into this. I will wear the hat everywhere, but like, I don't know how much I'm going to wear a jersey. And they're like, no, now you have a built-in minor league bowling shirt. And I'm like, oh, you're getting at me in the middle of my Venn diagram. Yeah. So
That is pretty good.
I'm going to sit on it. My birthday is coming up. If there's like an intrepid listener who might be a direct member of my family who might want to buy that.
Wants to buy something for Sam.
Yeah. You go right on ahead. But yeah, no, they really knocked it out with this, and the excitement that I'm sure it's generated in that area. They're including Big 20 Bowling Center out of Scarborough, Maine in this too, which is perfect. Like, involve a local lane. They really knocked it out of the park.
That is really cool. And to bring it back round to a minor league baseball connection, once more, according to Wikipedia, apparently the first time that Candlepin bowling was played was in Worcester, Massachusetts, home of the AAA affiliate of the Boston Red Sox now, the Worcester Red Sox.
There was some talk about when they moved from Pawtucket to Worcester, like, oh, what name should they consider? And obviously they stuck with Red Sox, but go colloquially by the Woo Sox. I remember some people being like, hey, what about the Candlepins?
Oh, that would have been cool.
As an actual name. Now, they haven't played as that yet. Maybe they can. Maybe we'll set up a...
Portland swooped in, took it. Nope. Can't do it now.
Well, they're fellow Red Sox.
Nope.
Let's do this all down the line, man. Let's bring Candlepin bowling to Salem.
Just like I was going to say in Salem, Virginia, Greenville's out.
Let's have the Florida Complex League team playing a day as the Candlepins. Why not?
The FCL Candlepins. Well, it's pretty good stuff. And you can, of course, check all of the details on that out at milb.com/Portland. And this was fun. This was a good one. When I finally get out to visit Josh Jackson, I demand to go Candlepin bowling now. And the two of you better be there as well.
Yeah, we'll be there. Funtown, Splashdown, Candlepin bowling. Let's go.
We'll see if we can get Funtown Splashdown to give us some passes, since I sang their song.
That's clearly
on this podcast without any sort of incentive to do so.
I will say last week, Ben and I were anticipating we were just going to get a flood of gift cards from restaurants in Palmer, Massachusetts. That has not happened yet. It's a little disappointing, that, Ray.
Yeah, those provincial Yankees didn't want us to come visit.
But good stuff, and you can check it all out, of course, at milb.com. You can, as well, keep up with all things Benjamin Hill at milb.com, MLB Pipeline. You can find him on social media at Ben's Biz and at The Ben's Biz on Instagram. And coming up, we are going to discuss some more prospect-related stuff. Spring breakout now in the rearview mirror. We'll get a conversation from Sam's time, in the Grapefruit League. And then... shockingly similarly voiced guy to Josh Jackson will stop by for Ghosts of the Minors, and then we're back to wrap up the other end of the show coming up in just a bit. Well, continuing along on this week's episode of the show before the show, as we draw closer to minor league baseball opening day in 2025, you've already gotten a look at some of the best prospects in baseball heading into this 2025 season, because spring breakout is now in the rearview mirror, in which top prospects from organizations around the big leagues collide in spring training contests in the Grapefruit League and the Cactus League. And one who is on hand for the Grapefruit League editionist of spring breakout is Sam Dykstra. Sam, your biggest takeaways from spring breakout. Give us some of the headliners.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest headline for me was that first game between the Rays and the Red Sox that we talked about before. It was going to be the most loaded game for prospects anyways. You think about Boston's big three between Roman Anthony, Christian Campbell, and Marcelo Meyer, and then you mix in maybe the deepest farm system in baseball, and the Rays, and Carson Williams starting, and Chandler Simpson was there. They had some injuries and illness issues, so guys like Trey Morgan and Xavier Isaac weren't playing, but like still, there's plenty of depth on that Rays team in the game in Port Charlotte. And I went and I'm standing around with members of the media, including our own Kelsey Hennigan and Jim Callis. Jim was calling the game that night. Kelsey was there to do some social stuff and just capture a lot of video and do a tremendous job like she always does. And we just realized like Roman Anthony, Carson Williams, and Marcelo Meyer are meeting at home plate. And you're like, okay, that's a cool pregame meeting between 3 top 100 prospects. Good for those guys. And you realize, wait, Meyer and Williams are both San Diego area native shortstops from the same draft class. So obviously those two guys know each other. And then all of a sudden out comes Christian Campbell and Chandler Simpson. You're right. Those guys know each other because they both played at Georgia Tech. And then Xavier Isaac and Trey Morgan come out to hang out with the group. And you sort of realize, wait, those guys played in the futures game with the Red Sox players too. So all these guys, it felt like a meeting where like the admission was either being a top 100 prospect or being a top 100 adjacent prospect. And it just happened naturally. I talked to a bunch of the guys in that huddle afterwards, and they were just like, yeah, we're excited to see each other. We want to check in. Meyer and Carson Williams talk trash to each other all the time in a very playful way. Williams even said, like, Meyer says he has more power than I do. So we're always trading jabs like that. And then you get to the game itself and you're like, all right, that's kind of cool. But now's the time to show it off. Christian Campbell hits a home run to right center. 2 pitches later, Marcelo Meyer pulls an upper 90s fastball down the line and right for a homer. Those guys go back to back. You're like, that's cool. That's going to be our big moment. That's our Paul Skeens versus Jackson Holiday from last year. And then a couple innings after that, Roman Anthony, while dealing with overrated chants, bad idea, just a bad idea to chant at the number 2 overall prospect in baseball that he's overrated, hits an absolute nuke to right field in Port Charlotte. I'm pretty sure it hit the building in right field. People who spend a lot of time in Port Charlotte are like, nobody hits that building. It was an absolute incredible blast, made for some fantastic video by videographers with MLB.com. So go check that out if you get a chance. Both getting the audio for hearing him being chanted at overrated and then the sound off the bat. Just exquisite stuff. Then Carson Williams goes deep later in the game as well. So now you have all 4 top 100 prospects homering in the same game. Carson Williams had the quote of spring breakout to me later, a group of assembled reporters. And I was just like, so all you guys had that meeting and then you guys all, he's like, yeah, we all homered. Are you kidding me? This is MLB's dream. And it's like, yeah, this is exactly what this event is for, is to show off the next generation of baseball, guys who are coming up and how good they are at baseball already. And for all of those guys who have good power to show that off in the game is really, really amazing. Throw in that Chandler Simpson laid down a perfect bunt, then executed a double steal with Homer Bush Jr., another 80 grade runner. It was just the perfect event, really. The Rays ended up winning the game. The score didn't really matter, but that was such a perfect evening of baseball in Port Charlotte. And then you look at some of the other things that happened from spring breakout. We got to see Durangelo Senja, the Mariners switch pitcher, their first round pick from last year, throw from both sides. He only threw 1 pitch lefty, but it was to Travis Bazzana. It was a 92-mile-an-hour fastball that Bazzana grounded out on. Then he went righty the rest of the way, including facing Bazzana again later. Stuck with righty. The Mariners view him as a righty starter first, but somebody who can mix in lefty just to give guys another look. And I love this detail from Daniel Kramer, who wrote up the game, about how right before Bazzana was about to come up again, Senja took off his glove just to be like, which side am I going to choose? Because under the Pat Venditti rule, the pitcher has to choose which side he's going to throw from. But you still can hold that until the last second. So like Travis Bazzana's sitting in the batter's box thinking he's about to face a lefty, but no, he's facing a righty instead who throws upper 90s instead of the lefty who's more sinker slider. It's a fascinating look at how Senja is going to develop, what the Mariners' plan is for him. But to see it in a game just tells you the game's still going. Like we're still developing. We're still seeing things that we haven't seen before because somebody like Pat Venditti, it worked for him because it was more of a parlor trick. Like he was not great from both sides, but he could do it from both sides. Senja would be a legit prospect, certainly from the right side and also from the left side. So to have both and be able to throw into the 90s, it's really cool to see. Some other things that just stood out to me real quick. I was at the Mets Nationals game. I got to see Ryan Clifford hit a 449-foot homer to dead straightaway center at Cacti Ballpark in West Palm Beach. He got all of it. He's somebody who I still like. He was plenty young for AA last year. If you like him, it's because of the power. He's a big guy. He's going to play a lot of first base early on. He'll mix in outfield as the summer goes on, but he's going to need that power. And I think he was hurt last year by being pushed to AA aggressively, but he needed to get out of Brooklyn because Brooklyn kills lefty sluggers like himself. So him getting to show that off gets him on the right foot to begin 2025. And also Elijah Green, I want to throw out there too. Another Nationals guy earlier in the week in that Astros game, he got to homer. He's somebody has serious contact concerns, but could play center field in the majors tomorrow if they asked him to. Is he going to get that strikeout rate under 40%? But when he makes contact, it's loud contact. We got to see him double. We got to see him homer against the Astros. So another guy starting the season on the right foot. And one of the other highlights, I wasn't at this game, but Vance Honeycutt with the Baltimore Orioles hitting an inside the park home run. Also Enrique Bradfield Jr. in that game, showing off really good speed, beating out a play at home plate. He got emotional about it. There were just tools on tools on tools everywhere across Florida and Arizona. It was so much fun to watch.
Fun stuff in the 2025 Spring Breakout series across the Grapefruit and Cactus Leagues. And Sam got a chance to speak with one of the participants in Spring Breakout 2025 in the Washington National system.
Yeah, that was their first round pick last year, Seaver King, who got to play in both breakout games. So it was kind of cool to talk to him before the second game against the Mets. But we talk about how he was the 10th overall pick last year out of Wake Forest. Just some background on that. He transferred to Wake Forest after playing at Division II Wingate, and he had a hitting streak that was the longest I've heard of in the college level. It was 47 games for Wingate. And we talk about what it's like to go through that experience, what it's like to be that consistent, especially in the college schedule where you have breaks in between games. And also we chat about some of his teammates at Wake, what the draft process was like. And also he was somebody who played a lot of third base and center field with the Demon Deacons, but now the Nationals view him as a shortstop. He played shortstop both games against the Astros and the Mets, what that transition is like. So here's me chatting with Seaver King. All right, so how's your first spring training treating you?
Good, man. We got nice weather. Usually our preseason is cold, so it's a good change of pace, I think. Playing games almost every day has been good. Just getting us locked in, starting to feel a little bit better in the box and stuff, so it's been good.
What is the biggest adjustment when you're going from, like this time last year, the season's already started, so now you're still getting ramped up?
I think it's just like, usually in the preseason you're, fighting for a spot, trying to get in the lineup, and now like it's kind of your career, and you kind of have to figure out what makes you go without somebody telling you like, hey, you have to do this and this in order to get in the lineup. It's just kind of like, all right, what are you going to do to put yourself in the lineup? So just kind of that little difference has been huge, and just kind of going about your business every day and just acting like a pro, I guess.
Yeah, and having an offseason to prepare with
right,
your job. What was the focus in the offseason?
Yeah, I think it was just trying to figure out my swing a little bit, just kind of find the holes and try to, what can I do to, kind of not necessarily make my strengths, but fill those holes and, pull the ball in the air, be more aggressive in the heart of the plate, not chase as much. Kind of those things have been kind of the main focus. And, it's a little bit of adjusting, but, you can only do it if you keep working on it. So. Yeah,
and their approach thing like that. I mean, were you seeing the balls like a trajectory machine or something, or how do you focus on that part?
Yeah, it's just kind of, it's usually approach based. I think just, I've always been see ball, hit ball, and just go. And at Wake, it's hard to get that out of you in 1 year. So it got better a little bit at Wake, so it's just kind of like an every year thing. I don't want to completely disband my aggressive approach, but I also don't want to, just be passive as well. So it's just kind of finding the medium, and when I find it, hopefully it'll work. So.
Yeah. You mentioned mentioned Wake. I mean, take me through that transfer process, going D2 to Wake. I know you had the Cape and the Team USA stuff in between, but like, what is it like transferring not just between two schools, but two divisions, essentially?
Yeah, transfer portal benefited me a lot. Hearing guys' stories like mine is always good to hear. But yeah, I mean, Wake was the perfect spot. I wouldn't trade it for the world. Our season didn't end as well as we thought it would, but the group of guys and the development I had up there was truly unbelievable. And you can kind of see with this team now, like all the transfers they got in are contributing right away. So it's they kind of get it on a need basis, and they had a need, and I kind of filled it, just kind of playing everywhere every day and kind of giving them that energy boost in the lineup. So it helped me where I was today. I don't think I'd be here without going to Wake, so it was a good spot.
Yeah, when did you know you were going to Wake? Was it before the Cape, or was?
Yeah, so I wanted to get in the Cape and just play, just not worry about it. And our season ended early, so I was able to do visits and stuff. And from the get-go, I kind of knew I wanted to go there just with talking to coaches and stuff. And that was my last visit I had scheduled. And I got up there, I was like, yeah, I'm going to come here, and it was easy.
It was last on purpose because
I don't think it was last on purpose. I just think it was the furthest north, and on the way up to the Cape, it was kind of the last spot. And they were playing and kind of in a groove. So, but yeah, it was awesome. I mean, I talked to them every day, so it really didn't feel like I was getting interrogated or like promised anything. It just kind of felt like an open conversation, just do whatever. So.
Yeah, and everybody talks about the pitching side of Wake. You guys, Brett Lauder, Chase Burns for you guys last year. On the hitting side, what do you feel like is the philosophy that worked best for you?
Yeah, I think it's just trust, really. I was projecting Kurtz most of the year, and that was new to me. I was always the top of the lineup setter, just kind of like gets things going, and now I kind of had to hone into a different role. I learned from it. It's obviously not something that maybe in the long term, just because I'm not a thumper like most people are in that 4 or 5 spot. But it definitely was a learning curve to just kind of understand, base open, nobody out. How are they going to pitch me? It's not going to be the same as if I was leading off an inning or what else. Just kind of being aware of those little situations kind of made me more aware and helped my approach kind of evolve from there.
Yeah, and you talked about being a table setter, that hitting streak you had, the 47-game hitting streak. Just what is it like going through that? Especially because it's not like the pro side where you're playing day in and day out.
Right.
You have those breaks, you're still staying consistent.
I don't know, man. I think my process at D2 was very different than what it is now. It was kind of just like I kind of knew I was the best player on the field every day, so just kind of show up and do what I had to do to get ready and just go play. I didn't really put pressure on myself. I kind of would go and play, and then it'd be my 4th at bat, haven't got a hit, and I get a hit, and then the whole bullpen's like going crazy. I'm like, what just happened? I'm like, oh, that's why. So it was just kind of like stuff like that. But yeah, it didn't really mean it ended on my birthday. It was the worst time of the end. The last game of the season on my birthday, so it was fine.
And when you say you knew you were the best player on the team, was that from day one? Was that after the freshman year? I mean, when did you feel like?
Yeah, I think we opened up in Florida my sophomore year. I was kind of a little bit, I don't know, I didn't necessarily, I thought I was the best player in the field, but I definitely didn't play like it. My coach sat me down and was like, this is your team, you kind of have to lead, and I want you to be the best player on the field and know that every day. And I kind of relished in that. And the next weekend, I think I, hit for the cycle, and just kind of from there, I was like, all right, like this is kind of my team. I kind of have to lead it, and especially kind of how our lineup was constructed, it was like, if I go, we go. If not, then it's gonna be a rough day. So kind of had to relish in that and not get too high, not get too low, and just kind of, our staff kind of helped us through that. But then we had guys like Sean Burnett, who's now drafted. That's holding his own up there, led the country in home runs last year. So it would have been nice to have him in my sophomore year, but it is what it is.
And at what point did you feel like transferring was an option for you? Was it in the middle of the year, or was that a goal at the beginning?
I don't think I ever really thought about it. My roommates were always like, "What are you doing?" Like, just kind of all the numbers. I was like, "What are you doing here?" And I was like, "You know what? Like I love you guys, so like I'm gonna stay here with you guys." And then I got to the end of the year and played my last game at home, where what we thought was, because we were on the portal making a regional or not, and just kind of sat in the dugout, and then everything kind of hit me and stayed there. Emotions rolled, and right there I was like, all right, I think this is it for me. And I had the conversation with Coach G, and it went well. He helped me out throughout the process, and we were still close. Kind of go back there a couple times this offseason, so it's been good to see those guys.
Yeah, were you able to reflect on that, like draft night? You get it, you go draft where you went, considering where you started to where you ended up.
No, I don't think. I mean, my ultimate goal is being in the big leagues, so it's just the first step. So I don't feel like me getting too high, too low is right. I mean, that night I definitely enjoyed it and relished in that moment. But the next day I was like, all right, when do I go? When I start working, kind of thing. And because I'm not done, I'm not ready to be done. I'm ready to get in the big leagues, be an all-star. All-Star, win a World Series, all the things. So
How much did you know about the Nats before that?
it was honestly crazy. I don't even think I talked to him at the combine, to be honest. I was expecting 12 to like 20 was kind of the range, and then my agent called me and was like, Nats at 10, and then if they don't pick you, it's going to be a while. So that was kind of not necessarily rough to hear, but it was just kind of like, it was also good when the draft started. That's the last thing I heard, and then you see Kurtz go, you see Burns go, and I was like happy for those guys, and I knew I was next, just didn't know when. Get my family around for that 10th pick, and totally expecting not to hear my name called, and then it came, and I was just overflowed with emotions. It was just awesome. So.
Yeah, and you're plugging yourself in here. You see guys like Cruz, Wood at the top level graduate. What do you feel like about your game plugs best into the Nats philosophy?
I think just, they've kind of had me at short, and obviously CJ's a great player up there. And, they kind of let it be known to me that's kind of where I'm going to go. And then if I have to move and he's doing his job there, I'll move. Like, it's not really, obviously I'd love to play shortstop, but I want to win. So if I'm, hey, I'm only playing shortstop and then I'm just going to sit in AAA for 3 years, it's like, why would I do that kind of thing? Like, I want to help the team win, and I want to help it at the highest level. So whatever they need, left field, catcher, third base, whatever it is, I'll play.
Yeah, and what has the transition been like to go back to short? You talk about moving around, third base, center field, now having one solid defensive home at least.
Yeah, it's awesome. I take pride in it. Obviously, you're a captain of the infield. All eyes are you on all times. And, it's defense has always been my strong suit growing up, and I kind of lost it. And then, at D2, I was kind of just hitting. And then I got to Wake, and it was kind of like not necessarily a wake-up call, but that wasn't the best part on the field ever. So it's kind of like if I hold it down defensively, do my job on the offensive side, it would be fine. And then kind of got here and back into short, and I kind of feel like home has kind of been really good for me to just kind of know where I'm going to play every day, where I need to get my work in, what I need to get better at, kind of talking with our coordinators and stuff. It's been really good.
What have been the toughest plays to adjust to over there?
I think it's just a little bit where to be at on what times, just because at third I was just really standing on the bag, watching the game. And at short, it's just like, you got to read a play, and if something else happens, you got to move, kind of all those things. Just be in the right spot, make sure the ball goes to the right spot, maintain runs, all this stuff. It's tricky when you haven't done it in a while. So it's been a pretty smooth transition. We work on it a lot, but I'd probably say that.
Yeah, today's a spring breakout day. You got to play in the first one the other day against the Astros. What stands out to you about that experience so far?
Yeah, I think it's just awesome. Get to play with Brady and Yo-Yo and all those guys. So it was good to be on the field with them. And now we kind of got the new wave of guys coming in. Most of the guys are in our draft class. So and it'll be good because I think, those Mets guys, they've all kind of been there for a while. So it's kind of old generation, new generation of prospects kind of thing. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a good time.
Yeah, and you mentioned playing with Brady. You have experience playing with Brady going back to amateur ball. How has he changed as a player since you guys were kids?
Man, it's been a long time. It's kind of surreal to kind of be on the same field. My dad takes my dad. I was playing, and he's like, "It feels like me and Brady gonna be in the dirt again." That's kind of, if anything, that happened again. So that was good for both our families, just to kind of relive that moment again, and hopefully that happens at the big league level. But yeah, Brady's a good dude. He's always humble. He's always, he's down to defensively at third, and always had the pop. So he's just a good all-around player.
When you guys played together as kids, where were you guys defensively?
I want to say he played short. I want to say.
Okay.
And I played a little bit of second. He's been that big since we were 12. So he kind of phased off the shortstop and moved to third. So it's kind of been a little whirlwind. So.
Yeah. And as you've gotten to learn more about this organization, face guys here on the backfield, who's the toughest pitcher for the Nats you faced?
I think Jackson Kent was in for today. Definitely a guy I never heard of until the draft class, and he's got real stuff, and he's going to surprise some people this year. He's really good dude too as well. We hang out off the field as well, so really good.
Have you had to step in against Asana yet?
Not yet. It's always. I think the similarities Burns maybe a little bit, but until that day comes, we'll see.
Yeah, as teammates, you might not have to for a very long time. Maybe next spring. And as you look forward to the minor league season, what tips have you got for what it's like to go from March all the way through to September?
I don't think I've gotten much. I think just kind of I've tried to. The off season sucks for me just because I'm used to playing go. And I feel like it's somewhat. My whole life has groomed me to just play that long. Obviously 6 days a week is a different animal, but I think just taking care of my body in the off season and now not taking it as okay, I'm gotta go balls to the wall every day here and just kind of understand what I need to do to get my body in shape to play every day, and then kind of let the season take its course has been good because I've always been I hair on fire guy, giving it all every single day. And, you know, the guys are like, all right, like, we want you to play all year, not, you know, give up in spring training. So.
Right. Yeah, you mentioned Burns. What would it be like to go against him, and what would your plan be?
You know, he's a lot different pitcher than when I faced him. He's got a lot better. Obviously, most guys are, you know, let's try to hit the heater out. I'm probably sitting soft against him and hope he throws it everywhere else but the plate. And just kind of, because I hit a slider when I faced him, and then he like gassed me up on 3 heaters. So he probably know. I mean, his report on me is probably better than mine. You know, he's a good guy, good player, but you know, obviously I go up and compete, and it'd be surreal to, you know, have that happen in one day.
Yep, gotcha. All right, that's
Awesome.
all I have for. Thanks so much.
Yep.
I really appreciate it.
We interrupt this podcast to bring you another thrilling edition of Ghosts of the Miners. Now, here's your correspondent and host, Joshua Jackson.
Welcome back to Ghosts of the Miners, in which all of you out there in Radioland must identify the legitimate historical ball club or player hiding amidst the fraudulent pair. One once tried to win the last game of the season. The others never tried anything in any season. In the last segment, I asked you which of the following minor league baseball players did at one time exist. A. The Durango Quartz Dippers. B. The Golden Diamond Grabbers. C. The Newport Pearl Diggers. You've come up with the right answer if you picked C. The Newport Pearl Diggers, who you probably surmise represented that old gem of the ocean state, Newport, Rhode Island. Surmise again. Rhode Island? Ride inland. The diamond that was the bed of oysters for our pearl diggers was in Arkansas, where there was a pearl rush in the late 1800s due to an abundance of freshwater mollusks in the White River, which flows out of the Ozarks into the Mississippi, with Newport situated between the mountains and the Delta. That's an appropriate location for baseball's pearl diggers, who never sagged way down to the lowlands, but didn't climb to the highest highs either. In fact, neither the Newport Pearl Diggers nor the leagues they played in were around long enough for too many ups and downs. The Arkansas State League launched in 1908, but by that July, it was already in such financial straits that one team, Poplar Bluffs, had already relocated to Brinkley, and Arkansas Governor Xenophon Overton Pindle ponied up to keep another, the Pine Bluff Pine Knots, viable. Pindle was described in the press as an old-time first baseman and a 33rd degree fan. But the Pearl Diggers weren't sinking yet. Managed by Robert Shelton, the 1908 Pearl Diggers were a well-rounded club that finished 65-44, an impressive .596 winning percentage that would have been even more impressive had Hot Springs not coasted to the pennant at 78-38. The Pearl Diggers really proved their grit in 1909, when the Arkansas State League started without a Newport entry, then got one when the Monroe Municipals moved to Newport and nearby Batesville, resurfacing the Pearl Diggers moniker as of July 1. But 7 days later, the whole league collapsed, only to be replaced by the Northeast Arkansas League on July 26. For Newport, it was any port in a storm. Dig this, the Pearl Diggers were back again, going 29-25 to finish in second place once more. But when the Northeast Arkansas League formed for 1910, Newport's didn't. There were only 4 teams on the circuit. And that's how the Newport Pearl Diggers went bad. Now, on to the question for next time. Which of these players was always looking for the solution in the minors of yesteryear? A. Chase Riddle. B. Hunter Puzzell. C. Holden Enigma. Want to know the answer? Solve for X. Or tune into the next Goes to the Minors. But for now, you'll have to excuse me. My producer Ben Hill is counting the hours on his fingers and toes until opening day, and I've got to help out before the season is afoot.
Well, we are wrapping up this segment of the Show Before the Show podcast. And to be honest, like, I kind of wish we could just do like an 11-hour show where it's just the 4 of us BSing the entire time. But alas, unfortunately, we can't. But before we get out of here, we're gonna kind of
before we
do.
get out of here, before
Yeah.
we play a game, I just have to address.
Let's turn the floor over
Yeah.
to Samuel C. Dykstra himself.
Yeah. You guys, when I'm by myself and I record these things very early in the morning or late in the night, and I'm always like, whatever they said about me is a lie. And then I just wait to find out the next day, like what exactly was said about me.
Whatever they said about me is a lie.
So 2
What
weeks
about when
ago,
we say you're like our favorite dude? What about that?
well, that's I usually like reverse it a little bit, and I say unless they said good things, and then,
okay.
then it's all true.
That's fair.
But so 2 weeks ago was pretty tame. Last week, you guys just went on
I
a
don't
tour
remember what
of
we said
Palmer,
2 weeks ago.
Massachusetts. Yeah. When I got a text from Ben saying like we're gonna set up a booth at the Steaming Tender, I was like, I don't like that you said Steaming Tender. That feels like a threat. Like you're getting something from a hostage taker who's just like, here I am in your home. How do you feel about that?
Send you a picture of like your most prized possession.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like in front of the green monster that is to this day still painted in my room at my parents' place. It felt a little too personal. And then all of a sudden you guys are talking, it got even more personal when you mentioned Rick's Parkside, which is the ice cream shop that I grew up going to after many baseball games growing up.
So did Ben and I last week.
Yeah. You get the vanilla soft serve in a cup with rainbow sprinkles. That's
exactly
the
what we get.
special.
That's what we got.
And then you kind of gave up the ghost a little by just naming random places on Route 20. That,
by naming places that we had stopped by and supported.
Sure. Yeah, that people don't actually
Virtually.
like.
You guys can't be naming random places on Route 20.
Yeah. It was clear that you were just like, oh, that place and that place and that place and that place. I'm like, all right, now you lost. Because I thought like maybe you had reached out to somebody in my personal life. They're like, what's a place that means a lot to Sam? And they're like, Rick's Parkside. I'm like, God, dang it. But what you said about friendlies is true. And if I've ever been unfriendly to anybody in the last 3 years, I do apologize. It has affected my demeanor. The fact that the friendlies I grew up going to every Sunday, and I'm dead serious about that, every Sunday morning, it was usually me and my dad. Sometimes my sister would come. In the very early years, my mom would come. But yeah, that was our Sunday routine, was going to that friendlies. And the fact that it closed was a very sad day for my hometown and me personally, even as somebody who lives and has lived in New York City for 13 years. So thank you for recognizing it, I guess, and remembering it fondly as I do. But otherwise, one other thing to throw out there, Taj Mahal. Very cool that he actually has Palmer connections.
Yeah.
mentioned.
What is the story there, Taj Mahal?
So from my understanding, and
Taj Mahal, for those who don't know, legendary blues man, incredible musician, but he's listed as like the notable people from Palmer. He's listed as one.
Yeah, I think he lived in Springfield for a while, but then moved to Palmer to work on a farm. And he's talked about this, how that like instilled a certain work ethic in him and all this kind of stuff. And if it's the same farm I'm thinking of, and I have no reason to doubt that this is true, it's the farm that I used to run through in cross country. One of the most hick things about me is that my cross country team ran through a farm and you had to close the gates behind you because otherwise the cows would get into school. The cows would follow the trail back to the high school and you would know if somebody forgot to close the gate.
Cows are here.
Cows are here. Who did it? The cows are in the practice football field again. It was a legit concern. So the fact that Taj Mahal and I have that connection is very cool. But anyways, back to the game that we were going to play. I just wanted to address everything that I had missed in the last few weeks.
Evidently, it was a dairy farm, and he moved there at the age of 16.
Yeah.
And by the age of 19, he was the foreman. He was milking cows. He was the foreman. He said, I milked anywhere between 35 and 70 cows a day. I clipped udders. I grew corn. I grew Tennessee red top clover. I don't know what that is. Alfalfa. Wow, that's pretty cool.
What an udder tugger.
Exactly. It all ties back in, as always, to the sugar skulled udder tuggers. Dang it, I couldn't make it through. Okay. Then here we are. We were going to come up with a new version of Name That Dude for this week, which really just kind of piggybacks on the Name That Dude that we had for the last 2 weeks when it was just me and Ben, where it wasn't so much a guessing of Name That Dude. It was just all of us would throw out an organization to another dude and have that dude name a dude from that organization. correct? Am I correct? Is that what we're doing?
Yes.
Is that what we're going with? Okay.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Okay.
So you throw out a team name, then I'll pick a player, first player that comes to mind from that team. Then I will say a team, and Sam picks it, and so on and so forth.
but
And
my
we'll do it quick.
understanding-
We'll do it quick.
Is that it's supposed to be somebody who's like not the best player in that
Right.
organization.
Like you can't say like the Angels and somebody says Mike Trout, the Yankees and somebody says Babe Ruth. It has to be a random, let's remember some dudes type of pick, you know. Although apparently a couple weeks ago, when I threw out Jayhawk Owens, we had already talked about Jayhawk Owens before, and I felt like I had abdicated my naming a dude responsibility. But here we are. Okay. So I'm going to throw out a franchise to Benjamin Hill, and I'm going to throw out the Kansas City Royals.
Kansas City Royals. How about
That's a franchise that has like a legendary amount of dudes because people, for those youngins today, the Kansas City Royals used to be like when you would buy a new baseball game and you just wanted to play an exhibition game against a bad team, the Royals were like the team that you picked. You know, like the Royals used to be just awful. And thankfully,
going back to Ben's days, they were
Right.
really, really good.
Yeah,
right, exactly.
my
They-
days
you know,
back-
through the cyclical times like the George Brett era, obviously they're extremely good, et cetera, et cetera. But they have there's a laundry list of dudes that you could pick from the Royals.
Yeah, you know, the first one that came to my mind was Willie Wilson because he was the final out of the 1980 World Series, struck out by Tug McGraw, but that's a little too obvious. I'll go with one that was a cult hero for a lot of years because, apropos of nothing, David Letterman made him a recurring bit on the show. Buddy Biancala, who now is connected with me on LinkedIn just because life is weird. But he was a utility man in the 80s, and for reasons I don't know, Letterman back in his 12:30 late show days on NBC would just reference him all the time, and I think he had Buddy on the show once just because he had referenced him so many times. We can YouTube it, Buddy Biancala. But that's who I will go with, the utility man of the 80s. And so that's my Royals pick. Sam, I'm going to bring it to you with the. Hey, we'll stay in the division. Minnesota Twins.
Minnesota Twins. Oof. Minnesota Twins. Who could I go with? That's like. Because I think of those really good early 2000s teams, which I don't know how many younger listeners we have. I'm just going to say them. Like, I think everybody on the show is going to know this guy, but I feel like the younger people should know about Brett Radke.
Oh, yeah. Brad Radke's
If you didn't grow up with Brett Radke, go look up Brett Radke. The guy was pitching in an age, obviously, when offense was really high, and just always see those Twins teams that always made the playoffs, and he would be their number one starter. And Brad Radke. Excuse me. Sorry, I don't mean to say his name incorrectly. Brad Radke. Just one of the most dependable starters of that era. It's not going to get into Cooperstown. He's never going to get that kind of consideration, but was just one of the most dependable right-handers you were going to have in either the American or National League.
He's a Hall of Very Good kind of guy.
You want to guess his WAR, Tyler? Career WAR.
Well, I'd be cheating because I have his baseball reference page open right now.
45.6. Like, that's even higher than I was expecting.
In
even
a
though I
12-year
recognize he was a
career?
very good player.
Yeah. Like Brad Radke had some really Brad Radke's 2004 season. And again, this is a different era of baseball. So there's not going to be like the eye-popping peripherals necessarily that there are today. But Brad Radke in his 04 season, 34 starts, a 5.9 WAR, a 136 ERA plus, and like granted, again, it's the early 2000s. He only struck out 143 in 219 and 2/3 innings. But yeah, like there was a time Brad Radke finished third in the American League Cy Young voting in 1997, and then he was an All-Star in '98. He was really good, and I feel like we may have discussed him on the show before because I remember him making an appearance in a commercial for World Series baseball on the Sega Genesis.
Yes,
in which he literally was put into a commercial based on the amount of home runs that he had given up the season prior. It must have been going into the 1997 season because in 1996 he gave up 40 home runs, which led all of the big leagues. And that was a year after he gave up 32 home runs, which also led the big leagues. But yeah, Brad Radke, very, very good pitcher for the Minnesota Twins.
All right, so
let's find him on LinkedIn now.
We have to keep this theme going after one person established it. Josh, your organization is the Toronto Blue Jays.
And I have to come up with somebody who gave up a lot of home runs and was featured in a video game commercial for having done so.
Also,
And
Brad
who-
Radke
and
spent
who
his
I'm connected
entire
to on
career
LinkedIn.
in Minnesota. By the way.
I mean, I'm connected to Roberto Alomar on LinkedIn, but that's not, you can't. I'm not actually. He's too good though, right? I gotta. Okay, all right. I can't think of any baseball players at all, except Roberto Alomar.
Famously a four-piece.
Who was a decent Toronto Blue Jay? Yeah, I'm gonna need. Can I email you on Tuesday about this? And I'm trying to think of positions. I can't think of any baseball players, you guys. I can't do this. Good night, everybody.
Shannon Stewart.
Shannon Stewart.
Oh,
I might
Shannon
have come up with
Stewart.
at some point. It was a name I might have come up with.
Shannon Stewart, I believe, I think was on the 2006 USA Baseball WBC roster. Could that be right? Maybe not. Maybe not. That might be wrong. I might be throwing that out. No, you know who I'm thinking of? Fellow Blue Jays outfielder Vernon Wells.
Oh, Vernon Wells, another one. I was also thinking of Jock Jones.
Yeah, I was.
Doc Jones, another former twin.
Twins. Yeah.
Former twin, by the way.
So Vernon Wells, would he be too good for this game?
No, I think Vernon Wells falls into the category of a dude to be remembered and named.
Okay.
Sam, would you say he's too good?
I would say he's too good, but probably he's in that Brad Radke.
Yeah, like
if
a
they're
very
younger
good
listeners, they should
player.
know how good Vernon Wells is.
Right. That's the thing. Like somebody who's listening to this show right now is 25, might not remember Vernon Wells. His playing career ended in 2013. They might not remember, like, oh yeah, that guy was really, really good for a while. Vernon Wells won 3 straight Gold Gloves and was named an All-Star twice from 2004 to 2006, and then again in 2010, 3-time All-Star.
Yeah, he was a great outfielder. I mean, defensively speaking, his defense shown. But yeah, I think that's part of my brain freeze was trying to think of who's not that good, and I wouldn't have come up with a Vernon Wells.
Threading the needle for naming that dude is kind of tricky.
Yeah. So now I just need to think of a baseball organization.
Yeah, just a team.
27.
I'll get you
Kasabian.
How about Baltimore, Tyler?
Ooh, the Baltimore Orioles. I'm gonna give you the first name that comes to mind. Well, should I give you the first name that comes to mind? The Orioles are another good team that I don't know. They have so many just random guys who stand out. Yeah, I mean, this one, I don't think really there's a reason why this guy sticks out in everybody's mind, but I am going to throw out Brian Roberts.
Okay.
Because Brian Roberts was one of those dudes who just every once in a while, you look at Brian Roberts' numbers in September and you were like, good God, Brian Roberts, is this good? Brian Roberts, let's take a look at Brian Roberts' 2005 season. He hit 314, 387, 515 with a 903 OPS as a 27-year-old second baseman who was listed at 5'9", 175. He led the league in doubles twice. He stole 50 bases once in 2007, when people were not stealing 50 bases. Brian Roberts stole 50 bases. I'm going Brian Roberts, who spent all but one season of his career with the Baltimore Orioles and then finished his career with the 2014 New York Yankees. That's what I'm going with.
Brian Roberts, I also think of because his dad is Mike Roberts, who was the head coach of North Carolina and also had an extensive time on the Cape.
Okay.
So there's just a baseball lineage there too as well that I just want to shout out real quick.
The other guy who I was going to throw out, but I thought would be just like kind of a low hanging fruit for this discussion is Brady Anderson.
I thought that's where you were going.
Brady
That was my
Anderson
first thought,
was,
and I was like,
yeah.
too obvious. He's the ultimate prominent, but also
Brady
kind of
Anderson,
obscure.
who hit
50
20 home runs once in his career before the 1996 season when he hit 50 home runs, and then one more time in his career hit over 20. Brady Anderson was a Maryland guy, by the way. He was born in Silver Spring, but then he went to high school and college in California. And another guy who similarly spent almost the entirety of his career with the Baltimore Orioles. He played 34 games with Cleveland in 2002 after starting his career with 41 games with Sam's Boston Red Sox in 1988. But also a 3-time All-Star. But no, Brian Roberts is just like one of those dudes who I think of like a guy who was really good for a certain amount of time with an organization that wasn't like blowing the doors off, but it's like, oh yeah, that dude was a very good player. I feel like he hits the name that dude qualification.
One thing we should do if we bring this game back, and I think we'll have regular dudeness next week, but is to find like the obscure player, not the but like Jim Tomei for the Orioles.
Oh, like a guy who played somewhere weird, a guy who ended his career somewhere where you would just not expect it at all. Yeah,
yeah. A lot of people use this term on the internet, the Shaq Celtics era.
Right.
Like you just see him in that jersey, you're like, I forgot about that.
Right.
So that's just another layer we can use.
Forward. Yeah. That's I like that idea. That does seem like a fun one. Now I'm trying to think of like who the most random career closing. Anyway, we'll bring that back at some point. All right, you guys. Well, I guess that's it. I don't really want to end this episode. It was a fun episode with the four of us. But I guess time constraints are closing in on us. All right. Well, if you too would like more of Joshua Jackson on this podcast, please send an email to podcast@milb.com with the subject line, "Give me more Josh Jackson." And that'll do it.
You're going to get a bunch that just say unsubscribe.
I also want to point out that we got an email from Dave Merrick with the Somerset Patriots, who said that Sam, quote, must now quiver anytime he has to tell you guys he's unable to join the podcast for the week, which is definitely true.
Yep.
Because Ben and I do our utmost to make things really uncomfortable for Sam, which is especially weird knowing, as we know, that like Sam has relatives and friends and people who listen who are probably like, these two idiots. And the way they go after our sweet and lovely Sam Dykstra.
So if you're a friend or family of Sam Dykstra, email me, benjamin.hill@mlb.com. Give us some dirt that no one else would know.
Give us the
we'll
true
talk about
dirt.
It on the podcast.
We're happy to throw the true dirt out there. So
Mr. Dykstra, Mrs. Dykstra, Sam's sister. I don't know your family's names, but get in touch.
Starting by identifying yourself.
All right. Well, for our 3 New York tripod guys with 6 legs in the office, Benjamin Hill, Sam Dykstra, and Josh Jackson. My name is Tyler Maughan. Thanks for joining us on this week's episode of The Show Before the Show, and we'll catch you next week.